Davis, and it's story time. Okay? If I turn this thing off, it's story time. Some of you may know that I have a one-woman show, a Brit Abroad and a Little Bit of Babylon, which is a show that I performed live in 2016 a few times to sold-out audiences. It was a wonderful experience, and I got to tell some of the stories that I had written about my experience as being a Jamaica English woman, born and raised in England, of Jamaican parents living in New York. So today I decided, because we're kind of on this lockdown thing, that it'd be good to tell one of the stories. And this particular story is called Jamaica Dead Yard. Now, a dead yard is basically a traditional cultural thing. You could call it. It's called a 9 nights in England, in Jamaica. I'm sorry. It's an extended wake that lasts several days, and the roots are steeped in African tradition. So I have a few stories about it, and even though a few of us are going through some deaths right now, and this whole COVID virus penetrating our brain, I think that we can find some lighthearted humor in even some of the scariest of subjects. So this one is called No Sanki No Sing So. Okay? So, as I was saying, typically Jamaica Dead Yard is called 9 nights. It's an extended wake that lasts for several days with roots steeped in African tradition. During this time, friends and families come together to the home of the deceased. They share their condolences and memories while singing hymns and eating food together. At my father's 9 nights, being that we have a large home, we were able to adequately provide accommodation, food, and drink for all who passed through over a period of several days. This is in around 2002. Mom, she passed in 2017, so she was still around at that time. On the first night, the diggers came. They sang and dug and drank and dug and sang and drank some more, alternating their pickaxe swings man to man and handling their mugs of Ray and Nephew overproof rum, and for the more hardy John Crabati, which is overproof rum. Unfortunately for us, with it being October, there was a threat of hurricane, and the weather was extremely contrary. Glorious sunshine one moment and torrential downpours the next. I assumed that they'd have to dig another day, but at the first signs of rain, one man pulled a tarp out from his sack, poles were pitched, a makeshift tent erected, and the singing, digging, and especially the drinking continued. How a man never got buried in the same grave beats me, as the amount of rum consumed around sharp metal objects left me cringing every time a man raised a pick, convinced that I would see a bloody fountain at any minute. Around in the kitchen area, which had been set up to accommodate the killing, butchering, and preparation of the goat meat, as well as the cooking of fish and soup, things were bubbling up nicely. Whether it was skinning goats, scaling fish, or just cutting up seasoning, each of the cooks were assigned a task and performed it deftly in the makeshift kitchen. However, the one thing they weren't aware of was the close proximity of the kitchen area to the bath and dressing room of the main bedroom. So more often than not, you'd get to hear snippets of conversation through the wooden window slats. This is how I learned that I was not the mean one from England, you know, them mean, but the singer daughter from America who know how to spend money. So I was constantly bombarded with requests for buying more rum, more beer, more juice, more fish, more. As they say, eavesdroppers seldom hear good of themselves. As the day of the actual funeral drew near, I was getting the hang of things. I was junking bread, making bully beef sandwiches, escovecheing fish, and helping with the libation and ultimately the imbibing of the rum. My wise counsel was sought after often, although afterwards I learned that maybe wise wasn't the best description. Soft touch I might as well have used. So, on the day the band came to set up for the singing night, I was ready. Now, I'm in my element, I thought. I told them where to set up and helped them to get ready. The singing night is the last night before the funeral itself. Out of all these nights, this is the most revered because it's the end of the celebration. Stories about the deceased and fondest memories are shared, along with prayers and singing of traditional hymns or sankis. Being a singer, of course, I was happy to be able to sing for my father and was looking forward to the evening festivities. The band began to tune up and practice. They played Bob Marley, Jacob Miller, Sanchez, Berisham, and so many popular songs I was familiar with. People who knew me constantly asked if I was going to sing. So much so, I got a teeny bit excited despite the circumstances and ran to my bedroom and put one of my set lists in my back pocket so, if asked, I would have keys and chords. I was ready. As the sun went down and that beautiful golden pink hue settled behind the mountains, the band stopped playing and changed into their evening clothes, marking the beginning of the singing. Someone shouted out, who are going to sing the first song? Why not make Miss Marcia do it like how she her brother Ashley daughter? So I puffed up my chest and headed over to the microphone. Marcia! At that precise moment, I was transported back to 1975 because I heard a voice, very sharp and Jamaican proper. Marcia! Yes, Mom, I responded with all the exasperation of the 9-year-old child I'd become again. Yes, Mom. Marcia, you tell them boys if that's the kind of music them come for play, you can tell them to pack up their things and go right back to Brownstone. What more was there to be said? I hung my head, slinked back to the musicians, put my set list back in my pocket, and heaved a long, slow sigh as the band struck up. Ahoo, tell Ashley fi go dead, boy. Ahoo, tell Ashley fi go dead. Naturally followed, if I had the wings of a dove. If I had the wings of a... Well, I tell you, I could have flown away at that very moment. I would have. My glowing red face lit up the rest of the night. As in my shame, I realized this wasn't my night. It was my dad's. And no sanki, no sing so. More to come.